Welcome back to Plus This. I'm Kathy Deach. And today, it's already been spicy pre-show. So during the show, I'm sure it's going to be a goddamn disaster. I have amazing theater people with me. They're two of the funniest people I know. I can't believe I'm blowing my wad and having them both on at the same time. I absolutely should have spread my juice around. But I have to start by telling you about Claire, who was with me in New York when we did Broadway Con right before the world shut down. And we had a blast talking about body bias on the stage. And believe it or not, it actually was fun. And she's incredible. I met her, guys. We just had our 10-year anniversary. I don't even know if she knows that. But at the end of March, we had our 10-year anniversary. We met at, we tested for Mike and Molly, both of us. And she flew in from Indiana and I was in LA. And we stayed in touch all this time. And she's just been such, we just had a fun afternoon in a studio in a white room. What is our lives? And then I think I might have driven her or had someone drive me and her to her hotel. I didn't even drive yet. It was really early days of LA. And she's an incredible human. Now she's getting an MFA in acting at Michigan State and Michigan State. Michigan State, yes. And I got all weird for a second. I was like, university. Wait, is there a difference? Is it all the same? And she is so cool that she is studying theater of the body and with a focus on fat women. And she was my expert. She's my academia princess. I love her. She's here. She's so into it. She started 2 different groups in 2 different states. So women and non-binary people get represented on stage. Claire Wilcher is here. Hi, Claire.
I have many leather-bound books if you'd like to read them. That's what grad school is.
And bourbon.
And bourbon, yes, of course, celebrating the Apollo 11, the landing on the moon, July 20th, 1969.
Incredible. It's always good to have a mark for makers. You know what I mean? Have a thing that marked an occasion. I have a Prince mug for that very same thing.
Oh, wonderful.
I almost brought him in today, but I said, relax it. Don't peek.
Never relax. We're in quarantine, Kathy.
I know. I shouldn't be relaxing at all. I used every last bit of energy trying to straighten my hair, which is literally, I feel like a little Jewish girl who in me is coming out in full force, and it will not stop growing, and this way too, but whatever. I tamed her. Claire, I'm so glad we're actually making this happen, because at BroadwayCon we were supposed to have this moment with my other guest, and he blew his wad, speaking of wads, when he was practically hosting all of BroadwayCon and called me like this and was wondering, Kathy, I was wondering if I could not come tomorrow because I didn't realize that this is what BroadwayCon hosting was. So if you could please not make me come. I mean, I'll do it. I'll come in at 10 a.m., Kathy. But honest to God, for someone who has the highest voice I've ever heard in my life, it was chilling. I was chilled to my bones. So he's a vet. He's been in so many Broadway shows. He makes me want to puke. He was just in the Prom. He was in Hair, the Revival, which I can't wait to talk to him about. And I was in that little ditty, Finding Neverland, playing some kind of sordid pirate. He also was in Emojiland when this closed, and I want to hear about that too, because he just looked insane from the pictures and the video. I was like, what is this show about? But it got nominated for an award today. So there's this is a momentous day in many ways. So please welcome Josh Lamon. Is it Lamon?
If you pay me on Thursdays, you can say it however the fuck you want, Kathy.
I had a full argument with someone on whether it was Lamon or Lamon.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. When the Lemonobs came to Ellis Island, and the dude was like, so what's your name? They were like, Lemonobs. And the guy was like, Lamon. And he wrote down Lamon. And then my grandpa was like, I don't like Lamon. We're laments. And so then it was Lamon, but my little brother goes by Lamon. So really, take your pick.
Okay, so Lamon works. I always thought because your handle at one point was Laminade that I was a laminade. But it's
it's like Laminade. Like
Laminade.
I've always said Lamon, but I think Lamon sounds better. And honestly, I think I'm going to go by that for now on. I was going to go by damn thickness. Did I ever tell you during the proms out of town, I got a message on OkCupid and the message was damn thickness. And I was like, I think I found my new professional name.
Was it 2 C's in thick?
It was, I don't remember that, but he was clearly like, damn thickness. Like, I found my queen, damn thickness tonight.
Yes.
Like, sort of like that. Yeah.
Yes. I like, damn thickness is like a tattoo. Like, I would get that
damn thickness.
I would get that on my arm if I had a tattoo, for sure.
Yeah, I know. Sort of like Bat Out of Hell 2. And my character is damn thickness.
That's so great. So
and we're here in Carnival.
So
Cruise
Lamon,
Lines.
it's very funny because I don't know what our name was, but Deech definitely was not Deech. It was definitely like, we came over here when like Germans were like, no, we don't want no Germans.
Yeah.
And they like changed it. Like, I think it was my family that did it. I don't think it was the person at the thing. I think
I think they came over and it was like, das Reichen, das Hasen, 19 tonight, They were like, okay, you're Kathy Deech. Welcome to America.
Yeah, and because I don't pronounce it German at all, and every time I go to Germany, they always try to talk to me. And I'm like,
they see you. They're like, hey, we remember you.
Yeah, they're like, you're very familiar. You're very familiar.
Guilty.
Well, that was a delight. I have a question for the two of you, and I think I kind of know the answer. On the show, on Plus This, we have some guests sometimes that are at all different kinds of places with fat activism or even having a comfort level of that. I just wanted to ask you both, and whoever wants to jump in first, how do you feel about the word fat? Do you identify as fat? Crickets.
No, I'm happy to go with this. It's a struggle. For me, I have spent the majority of my life hating myself. And I've always been bigger. There was the year of the twink when I got wicked, and that's because Atkins diet came out. I lost all my weight almost immediately, and all of a sudden I was a twink, but in the mirror I was not to me, and I still hated myself. And I had no idea that there was other eating disorders other than anorexia and bulimia.
Right.
And, honestly, like I've always felt like a faker. I'm still learning how to love myself. I have a therapist. I have a psychiatrist. I have a wonderful family and team. And for me as an activist, yes, I'm all about it. But when it comes to me and my demons, it's very hard because I ain't no Lizzo as much as I wish I was, but I am a Lizzo for other people, and I can be that.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
It is. Well, it's hella complicated. And what's fascinating about you, Josh, is that, and I love that you jumped right in with it because I was going to totally make you talk about your twink phase, is that so many of us as fat people never have that twink phase. Like, I was a size 10 at 10 years old, and then that was it. I was in double digits, So always striving just to be on the other side of like the plus size department, right? Like, could I just be in the junior section for one day?
Yeah.
So I never had that, and you show me pictures of you, and there's this thing that people believe that is not true, and I think that people more and more are admitting that it's not true, that there's this thin person inside everybody fat wanting to come out. Now, you literally had that moment, and you're here saying that there's like some cognitive dissonance there, and
there was. I still hated myself. I still felt like nobody found me attractive. I still, I still was not thin enough. I would never be thin enough. I would never be cute enough. I would never be this enough. And eventually I just couldn't take it anymore. And it all came back. And then with that, you have that horrific guilt when you see people again. And, they're not mean to you, and maybe they're not thinking it, but when they see you and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" But in your head, you're like, you're evaluating my size.
Yes, because you knew me in a different body and how.
Yeah, like I can't say that you're snorting an 8-ball of Coke on the weekend, but you can see my drug.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of shame that goes with that. For me, it's been very hard.
I'm sorry.
But
I think that's interesting. I think the word fat to me has become a lot more doable and usable really only in the last probably year and a half of my life. I've always been this size, except for my twink phase, which was in like 7th grade. I was in Weight Watchers in 7th grade, and I got down to, I was very, very thin. And I went to meetings with all the adults and everything too. And I somehow really came out of that, I won't say completely unscathed, but relatively unscathed. And I was very, very confident and always kind of I was a class clown, I think, as a lot of, extroverted or, more outgoing fat people sometimes tend to be, to kind of, overcompensate for that acceptance level and that kind of making the joke before other people can. But I also I was really afraid of the word fat until probably a couple of years ago. And that kind of was a game changer for me. And as soon as I decided to kind of dive in head first, that's when I really started to just be a lot more transparent about my feelings about it, and a lot more forthcoming about how I wanted other people to feel about it. Also recognizing that, everybody's got their own rhythm and their own game to it. But I guess how I wanted straight size people to approach the world of fatness. And I try to be pretty direct, and I try to be pretty kind, but I also kind of have small fat privilege as well. I'm maybe like a size 16, 18. So that affords me a little bit of a different
for sure
than other people too. So it's also about recognizing that too. And God, it's just so fucking nuanced. It's just insane.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the hierarchy is real, and and it's almost like being painfully average, which the average American woman is 5'3" and a 16, 18 range.
That's me. I mean, that's exactly me. That's who I am.
Yeah. So, and we obviously understand there's such a privilege in being so average, and we have accessibility in a different way, but it doesn't mean that we're also not constantly trying to be, like I said, on the other side of that. Like, we're trying to be on the when is it that my body is small enough where people do not see me as fat? And I've gotten down to a size 10, and I still don't think people thought of me as not a fat person. So then it became like doing this work. How do I say, oh, my fatness is, it just is. It doesn't have to be a good or a bad thing.
Well, I read something that I don't know if you know, one of my best friends, Allison Gwynn, who is a brilliant actress here in New York and singer and musician. She posted something about, like, when did fat become a bad word? Because thin is not a bad word. Tall is not a bad word. Short is not a bad word. But these are correct words. So fat is something that I am. So why is that a bad word?
And there's like a history of that. We've had actually a guest on the show. She is a doctor and wrote an entire book and thesis about that. And the history of fatness being a problem and being amoral is absolutely connected to white supremacy. And that's why all of this, like we talk about, is so complicated. And I want to go to take this conversation to theater, because obviously putting yourself on a stage and having everyone see you in all of your glory, and you, Josh, were talking about how people see you as this, role model. And that's happened to me too, and I'm sure that's happened to you too, Claire. Where people, you're just doing life. You're just like, I like singing and dancing. I like making up stories. I like sketch. I like improving. And people are like, wow, that's a big deal for you to be a big person doing that. And you're like, what? Like, I didn't know when I was doing Footloose that there was a whole generation of kids who were in high school watching me do that, playing a high school character, going, wow, I could be on Broadway too.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I'm sure, Josh, that's happening to you.
Of course. And for me, it's all those things. It's an honor. I remember my parents were supportive, but they were also realistic. And my dad would be like, you are not like the other boys, and it is going to be harder. And, but we believe in you. We know that you're talented and we support this, and that is true. I don't know, but, it's all a weird situation.
Fascinated by, what I've really started thinking about lately is just this point where fat kids fall out of the program, right? And how people like you, Josh, and you, Kathy, and me, how we got through the bottleneck of making a career and a life out of this. Because you look at casts and, if you get one or two people over a size, 8 or 10, depending on where this is, if it's Broadway or if it's, regionally or whatever, if you get more people of a certain size in your cast, it's not going to be a large number. So, and when I look at my department here, our theater department here at MSU is huge. And I look at it and the ratio of people who look like me, who are shaped like me, and people who are straight sized and on the end of thin, something happens there, right? Something has to happen that makes those people go, this is not the place for me. And I wonder what that bottleneck is, right? And what I'm really fascinated by that idea too, and how we slip through the cracks and become the chosen ones.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of people, don't you think? I feel like this was kind of me, but wasn't. That a lot of people see themselves as the ingenue, and then when they realize they can't be, when they realize that, classically trained sopranos don't have a place in Rodgers and Hammerstein, like they go, oh, I got to peace out. And there's sort of like this little army of like fat sopranos going, we want a place, we want to be Disney princesses right now. And I love that. But I think that that's kind of what ends up happening to a lot of kids. I mean, and truly, why shouldn't they be the leads?
Sure, of course, yeah.
Sure. At the same time, I'm very much a realist, and the industry is not that way, and so be it. But for me personally, I see two incredible artists before me that have something really fucking unique about them that is so incredible. So you cannot replicate it. It's just an individual thing. And I'm not saying I'm fucking Meryl Streep, but I'm a weirdo. And
I would say I've told you you're a Jack Nicholson, like down. Like you're like the musical theater's Jack Nicholson. You are.
Well, no, but like we have things, and when you see those things inside of you, it took me a long time to go, oh my God, I'm not 6'1" and I don't know ballet and I'm not hot, before I was like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
as soon as they need me,
Yeah.
it's over.
I'm going to
Yeah.
show up. Yeah.
It's very
And-
yeah, it is. There is something very niche about it, and that does make everything feel a little more special. I just think it's fascinating about, you know, the traditional viewing practices and casting practices, and just, you know, fat phobia all behind that. It's so hard to unpack and also fit into this category of uniqueness and realize I like where I fit there, and I like that I can deliver something that no one else can. But why not everyone? But not everyone.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big history nerd. And if you go back, like I was in Pompeii. What a fucking douche I was in Pompeii.
Oh,
I
yes.
was in Pompeii this morning. I flew on the Concorde.
It's a very, very common place to go.
Yeah. And you look at what was beautiful back then, and for them, it was some big ass women. It was big ass women.
Yeah, some of the oldest goddesses and statues
Yes.
are huge women.
But that was a society viewing. Okay, so a bazillion trillion years later, we're here, and society is, way fucking different. But society views it this way, and we are working in an entertainment industry that serves society. And so, but there are independent outlets and other fearless, wonderful producers that are putting us forward more and more and more.
I want to talk about that. I want to take a little break because the audience needs to
I got
see
a tinkle.
the audience needs to see what the both of you can do. So I've asked you for a couple video clips. Thank you for, and I believe that they're not available anywhere else but here on Plus This Show. So I'm gonna totally not pee, but I'm gonna drink a little. At this small break, we'll be back. Plus this. After show, hopefully we have 10 people. 10 people giving $5
on the Patreon.
If 10 people give $5 a month, we could do a whole season without getting money from people we don't trust. Isn't that nice? Guys, I'm literally trying to pimp myself to dating apps to try to get us money.
Ooh.
I'm scared. Don't make me do that.
Ooh.
Just give us $5.
Really a beautiful place, Eleanor Roosevelt visited Kabikov once and said that you could almost smell the family values wafting on the air. This reminds me of what Joan of Arc once said. Women belong amongst the trees, looking for corpses. Remember what Emily Dickinson said? I'm a shut-in. Nobody touch me. Remember my favorite quote. Amelia Earhart said, I'm a lady pilot. Where am I? Remember Helen Keller said, no, 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 no,
Sing it again, boy.
Girl, it gets better.
Josh, we just watched Bloody Bloody Angela Lansbury. Can you please explain to the audience what is happening there?
Thanks to a cease and desist. You got a cease and desist.
Oh, you got cease
You
and desisted.
did?
Yes, I did. It is now Bloody Bloody Jessica Fletcher.
Okay.
That character is it's a musical parody of Murder She Wrote, which is actually in development in these odd times. Thank God.
I love it.
But my character is Sheriff Tom Bosley, and he just is constantly misquoting people. Like women, because it's the 80s and misogyny is real, and finally, like his "It Gets Better" song to her is the Helen Keller song. Like it starts off small with like, I think now it's changed, like Eleanor Roosevelt saw Kabakov once and she said wow, to like the next thing, to Joan of Arc, to that, and then Helen Keller said And so it's very much like Murder, She Wrote meets Book of Mormon meets We're All Going to Hell, but you gotta laugh.
Oh, it delighted me. It delighted me.
I'm glad.
As did like almost everything that you've ever done. Emojiland was like an off-Broadway phenomenon. It just got
Shockingly.
a Louise Lortel nomination.
Yeah.
Congratulations for like the craziest set off Broadway ever.
Yeah, well, it was all Jamie and oh fuck, oh god, I'm sorry. I'm
It's
so
all
bad
right.
with
We
names.
can Google it.
But
Google
I love
it,
her.
audience.
The set, the lighting design and the automation, or not automation, the illustration, whatever. Their work was exceptional, and what they did really deserved that. And
But it's also
I'm glad
weird that that's
those two were
happening,
recognized.
right? It's weird that it's happening.
That what?
That awards are happening.
I mean, I am not a big awards person.
Anyways, yeah.
And I know that sounds sort of stupid. And probably when I get one, I'm going to be like, oh man, thank you so much. But like, I don't know. Yay, congratulations. Here's awards for everybody. Meanwhile, they 8,000 of the quarantine.
Yeah, exactly.
Donate to the Actors Fund.
Exactly. Well, the one thing that did, I'm glad it like got many nominations, was A Strange Loop, and
thank God.
Yes,
thank God. The best thing ever, the most important thing, the most important conversation for all of us sheltered people to be having is this show. I learned so much. I'm so grateful. I cannot wait to see what else he has up his sleeves.
Yeah, you missed him at Broadway Con with us, but he was Michael R. Jackson, the writer.
Oh my God, I love him.
Is incredible, and
He was so phenomenal.
So phenomenal. And he talked about, sort of like working with actors made him all of a sudden aware of things he hadn't been aware of, even though he was somebody who identifies as fat and obviously Black. And yet there were things as actors, like when he even as we were having this conversation around him on the panel was like, you guys are giving me things to think about that I've never thought about as somebody who is writing something. So
is he single?
I actually think he might be.
Yeah,
because listen,
he is.
Well,
if he's single,
matchmaker, matchmaker,
baby,
make
baby,
me a match. Yes,
baby, gonna give you it right, yeah. Ain't gonna sleep with your daddy tonight. All this dookie hole is yours.
Not Dookie Hole.
Oh yeah, Dookie Hole. That's my hit song, Dookie Hole.
Dookie Hole.
Donate to the Actors Fund and
Actors
download for free.
Click
boy
Dookie
chick.
Hole to donate to the Actors Fund.
Donate to the Actors Fund, the boy cheek.
Yeah, I think he's single is my point. And I want to go back to, we're talking about the system. And I think that the more we have these conversations, the more people are being made aware of the choices affecting people who watch their shows. My big beef, and Josh, you were a part of one of these shows, and I just want to full disclosure, it is hard being in a show and people have all these opinions about it, i.e. Wicked, Footloose, and you don't have creative control over it whatsoever. But being a part of it, I find your point of view really important, and I would love to hear it, that a show about bullying and other shows, they're not the only one. I mean, Dear Evan Hansen and Mean Girls and all this stuff, that they don't have any kids in the kid ensemble who are plus size. And I have it's such like a for me, because all of the studies show that fat kids are the ones who get the most bullied.
Yes.
So, and yet I love that there were two chubby guys in the show. that the guys were thick, and that was great. So
Well, with Prom, I will say that Caitlyn is not traditionally like super duper thin. I'm not saying that she's plus sized, but especially like throughout the creative, exploration of the piece. But I do agree. I think with that show specifically, though, because of time constraints, they were looking in the audition for hip hop dancers that could pick it up the first time perfectly, and those were the ones who got it. But Casey, and I do stand up for him with this, is known. He loves the big girl. He loves the big boy. He loves the big anyone. And he fights for us constantly. When it came to the kids, I think it was just like he didn't have time. Same thing with Mean Girls. It was just like, who picks it up now? Let's go.
but also and I put that blame on casting directors for having that dissonance too. Like that I can rattle off 10 plus size dancers who could play high school in New York who are maybe some of the best hip hop people I've ever met. And that's
Sure.
just because of the work that I've done. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, what is it worth to you to tell a story about bullying that you don't go the extra mile to represent what bullying?
I agree. And I wasn't in those rooms, and I don't have that experience that you have, so I can't add on to that.
Yeah.
But just from my experience with Casey, he gave me chances and many people chances when nobody would. He, James Lapine, and Bill Finn are the three that would.
Yeah. Yeah. You've had quite an experience.
Oh, and
That's it.
Diane Paulus.
Yes.
Yes. There are many other director choreographers that I love and I really admire, but their shows are not super diverse when it comes to having round people. I am not seeing what they are seeing in the room. I do not know what they want. I am not placing blame, but that is the aesthetic that I see, and I cannot control their aesthetic or what they're going for.
Yeah. Which is why there needs to be more women doing all of this, I think. Because women most of the time do know, right, Claire? Isn't that sort of?
I agree with you. And I think that's interesting. I have a completely different life experience, obviously, than both of you have in the industry. And it just, you I mean, I don't know any of these people, and I don't know what they see every day and what they are influenced by every day. But I know that I don't think there are people in an audience who are clamoring for only thin people. And that's where I don't understand the disconnect, I guess, is that it's all rooted in our own preconceived notions of what showmanship is supposed to be and what these fictional worlds are supposed to look like, and these idealized bodies. And it's just so bizarre to me. And I think that's what Kathy and I and Michael and Mimi talked about at Broadway Con, just like the influence of Hollywood and silicone and weight loss surgery, and how it's just kind of infiltrating everybody, and we don't even know it. Like, we do, but we don't, right? Because even my own internalized thoughts about what I want to see Galinda up there looking like me. Well, yeah, I think I say yes, of course, and then I go, but would I be in the audience and that curtain opens and she comes down from the bubble, and I go, I don't buy it. But would I buy it or would I not?
One of the biggest compliments I ever got was Norbert, and this is me so being gross, but Norbert Leo Butz was like, Kathy Deitch, I wish you could be Glinda. And I
Oh.
was like, Norbert, I love you so much. That will never, ever happen in a million years. But I love
Yeah.
that he like was willing to see something like and the fact that he would even say that out loud, because people might think that of you and they don't say it, right? Like, you know,
Yes.
but I want to talk about the areas, and this is the thing that I kind of the thing that frustrates me is that even places, again, where having plus size people in things makes more sense to storytelling, right? Where even in the movie of Mean Girls, that character is a gay fat icon, you know, that character Daniel. So why couldn't they find an actual fat guy to do that job? And
I think they did.
baby.
I think Gray is
No.
overweight, and then his replacement, Chad, who I love, is also a big guy. I think that they did well with that.
See, I don't think so. I think Gray.
Okay.
My experience with Gray is I saw him on the tour of Book of Mormon, and then I saw him like maybe like 20 pounds heavier with like a pillow in his gut. Like it was so obvious they were trying to like fat suit him up a little bit.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'm really dumb when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And also
So-
like why would you need anybody to gain weight for a part when there is literally a you around, or you know,
I know.
you know what I mean? Like anybody around, like, or the kid who came out of college who looks like you. Do you know what I mean? Like the Josh Gad. Anyway, but that put aside, there's those spaces where I'm like, ugh, but also that like even the mothers, like even a woman who's pregnant in a show can't be plus size. Like the fact that waitress can't, it has to be the one woman who's frustrated in her relationship, who's starved for attention from her husband or whatever, who's miserable and, you know, is rah, rah, rah. She's the one who gets to be the fat person. It's not the woman
And
who's
she
actually
has to
having a
have the
baby.
soul song.
Yes, exactly. And it's not the woman who's actually pregnant in the show, who's
Well,
actually having a child. Doesn't
Can
get to
I
be
talk
plus size.
some shit and blow off some steam?
We have some time. Yes.
I feel like that's what I'm here for.
The Company revival. The Company revival did not see fat people.
They wouldn't even audition them.
Pretty much. And like, here's the thing. I am a realist, like I said. I never expected an audition. A manager that I know who doesn't even rep me, wrote to me the sweetest, like, this is the nicest thing anybody's ever done, and was like, hey, I know that they most likely won't see you, but he sent me this letter that he sent to them that was like, you need to see him, you need to give him 5 minutes of your time
Oh my God.
for the Amy part, or the Jamie part, the listener to everybody there,
Yeah.
everybody there.
Oh my
And
God.
not just fat people, but also like, and I'm not going to name names because that wouldn't be cool, but some of the most incredible, also like thinner or, you know, awkward character people, the time of day,
Right.
where this is not a diverse group of people.
Yeah, it's like the CW
And-
does Company.
I love my friends in it. I am not talking shit about them at all.
You never.
They are geniuses, and
never-
I can't wait to cheer them on.
You
but
never ever poo-poo the person who gets the job.
No,
Like it's never about that.
I cannot wait to see them, and I love the show, and I can't wait to support it. But it was very disappointing when you have a city filled with resumes that say, I deserve 5 minutes of your time. And that's all that I'm asking, because I could be believable in this situation.
For sure.
It all comes down to that word believability. I mean, it really does, as far as what we as audience members, what we as casting directors, what we as theater makers in general are willing to believe. And it's unfathomable to me that is just not considered believable. I mean, because we're in the world, we're here right now. Why don't you believe we should be represented? You know, I mean, if theater is supposed to mirror life, it doesn't always do the best job of mirroring the population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is these weird, there's like these weird like concepts. There's like these weird like conceptual things, and that people don't think larger bodies can even handle it. I mean, that's like a whole other insult. I mean, just like, you know, going in for the commercial audition where the character has to run up and down golf courses, like golf hills, and a guy who's, you know, not thin himself sitting on a couch going, can you do that? When I walked in.
Oh my God.
And by the way, I was like, yeah, I did Broadway show yes, I did 1,000 performances of a Broadway show.
I was on a rake stage and worked with Lisa LaGuio. I can do anything. You're a monster.
You're a monster. I want to talk about, wait, Josh, we have to talk about this because I promised myself I would talk about it because we don't have a ton of time left. But I know the depth of who you are. Obviously, you're like one of the funniest people I know, but you also have this like incredible depth. I think our first conversation, I was going back and trying to figure out like how the hell did Josh and I ever become so close? And I don't know who even put us together, but I remember Chad Darnell, by the way, is on Facebook, like totally watching us, which I love so much.
I
Hi,
love
Chad.
him.
But I don't think it was him. But we got together and we talked about Philly and we talked about like all this stuff. And then in Philly, I was working on a show down there, and my fancy friends who support the Arden, because they're like high school
The
friends.
Arden is the best fucking regional theater I have ever worked at. Support the Arden Theater in Philadelphia if you can, if you have money. They make art.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So then I'm there supposed to see this big tribute to Sondheim, and Sondheim was going to be there, and Jason Robert Brown was going to give like a tribute, and there was like a tornado or a nor'easter. Something happened. The electricity in the city went out. And there was a generator that lit not like the small black box theater, but like the table saw in
where
the
they
scene
build the
shop,
sets.
where they built the sets. So for those of us who hung on long enough, we packed in crazy folding chairs with sawdust at our feet to see a performance, and you literally performed, not while I'm around, on a table saw for Stephen Sondheim 4 feet away from you, and Jason Robert Brown like hanging out by the piano. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
Can we please talk about what that was like?
Oh my God.
And by the
it
way,
was
you were brilliant, and I'm so mad. I thought a friend of mine had recorded it, and I was like shaking her down. My friend who brought me, and I'm still waiting for that video. I will show that video next week if I
Thank you.
I get it.
It was
It's
remarkable.
genius.
It was also like when I played the role there, and I was in the twink stage of my life, and I was there as a bigger person, but also when I was there, I was in a really horrible domestic violence situation where I was almost killed, and like I was not the actor that I was yet. And so it was a big full circle thing. And to see him weeping, like while I'm singing his song on a fucking like saw table, and then like feeling so on top of the world. But here's the best thing why I love being a realist is coming up after him finally at the end of the night. He's finally alone. I'm like, Steven, Mr. Sondheim, we did Into the Woods together in Central Park, and he went, if you say so. And you know that's the kind of shit that it's like, thank you, universe.
Yeah.
Like that was a magical moment, and I'm never gonna forget it. God bless you, Stephen Sondheim. God bless you for fucking just being here in Sawdust and playing Pope to all these people, even me.
Oh, and
and
he
just
was, I
being
mean,
real but not
when
rude,
he gave that like speech at the end and he got all verklempt, and you see so many interviews with him, and I teach a history of Broadway class at a BFA program, so I like shove like every bit of information about Sondheim in every interview we ever gave at them, and I'm like, this is how theater's made, don't you understand? You have to care, you have to get it. Stephen Sondheim gets it. And then to see him be so like a matter of fact and not, people might consider it a hardness. I think you and I and Claire, probably you too, like you see there's like a decision, there's like a clarity in the way they talk. And then
he's just like us.
And then to see him so soft give that speech. I mean, it was really I mean, it was literally like a pink cloud I was on. It was the only reason why I should have been in Philadelphia, because
you want to see my impression?
Yeah.
Kathy, I love your show. If you say so. Okay.
There you go.
Oh God! If you're
actually
not
pretty
watching this on, a video, I don't know what to say to you. We're gonna take another tiny quick break because I want to show one of Claire's montages too, because she also is a hysterical genius. One day we'll all share the same space after this hellhole is over. But we'll come back plus this. Just a sec. Hi guys, it's Kathy from Plus This. I'm getting ready for season 5. Can you believe it's been 5 seasons already? We start back March 12th at 6 p.m. at UBN Go. Per usual, this season, I'm not just going to have one host, I'm going to have all the hosts. It's going to be Kathy and friends, and more importantly, it's going to be Kathy and friends and you, because we're dedicating one whole segment to have a conversation with one of our viewers about how fatness is perceived in the world for them and like what challenges they have. So I want to talk about it. I want to help you if I can. I want to take the things I've learned from amazing guests over 4 seasons and start to help you out. So email me at plusthisShow@gmail.com or DM me in my Instagram at plusthisShow, and you could be on Plus This Show. I'll see you March 12th.
Quixotic?
Oh yeah, I was an English major.
Oh, I bet that had an effect on all the boys.
Yeah. Well, as long as you mean effect, E-F-F-E-C-T, not affect, A-F-F-E-C-T. Because effect is actually the noun and effect is the verb. It's a common grammatical...
A sentimental song that casts a magic spell. They all will come along, will overact like hell. Stupid hat back, baby. It don't even fit my head.
My head.
It's too tall upon the top. I look like a big old loaf of bread. A song always ends like
Claire, I love how many gowns you wear in that montage. I love a sequin moment. I love a tiara.
Thank you.
I love that you play both sides of the coin with absolute ease. I feel like we have a sisterhood in that. I can absolutely play a ratchet bum who wears dude clothes, but I also can like be a pretty princess.
I mean, all of my improv characters are basically ratchet bums. And whether they are male or female or anything else, that I can do it all. But ratchet bum is my wheelhouse, man.
So you went to Michigan and you saw a need and then started Man Overboard. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it kind of stems from the work that I did in Indianapolis. I really worked heavily in the improv scene there, and I started the Gal Pal Comedy Festival in Indianapolis and ran that with a co-producer for about 7 years, and it's been on the air. It's been happening every year for 7 years. And Man Overboard kind of was a direct stem from that, because I left my professional career and all of my friends in Indianapolis, moved to Michigan State, and I joined the improv team at Michigan State. And it's full of wonderful people, and really, they're starting to kind of grow this improv scene around the university there. But I noticed that it was really kind of a male-heavy scene, as most improv scenes are. You know, it's kind of a boys' club, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I have many wonderful wonderful guy friends in the improv world, but
it's brotastic. It's brotastic, though.
Yeah, it's very brotastic. And, you know, my experience with Gal Pal was that when I got a group of women into a room and let them just kind of play without this outside influence of the male gaze. I mean, not to get too gaze, G-A-Z-E, not the male gaze. Not to get too academic.
We obviously lost Josh because he's not even commenting on that really good joke.
I'm sorry, Shelby needed more juice.
Juice, Shelby.
Shelby needed juice. What can I do in times of love and cholera? What was the comment? Go back. I want to laugh at it. Sorry.
Oh, I made a male gaze reference.
She made a male gaze joke, and not the gaze, but like a gaze, like looking.
Can I just get a laugh anyway, Josh? Just like in the.
Can I pretend like I'm casting? Oh, Claire, that was great. Can we get that one more time?
Sure.
Cool. Thanks. Whenever you're ready.
Great. Okay.
Whenever you're ready, take your time.
Tip of the tongue. Okay. So, you know, I wanted to start a group that wasn't, you know, about the male gaze. And I don't mean the male gaze, but, you know, the male gaze. How was that?
That was great. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Ew.
No, that was great. We loved your self-tape.
Oh, thanks. I got a ring light special.
We could tell.
And a blue background.
Yeah, so I started Man Overboard, and it's a group for women and non-binary performers, just to kind of give them an inclusive space, a space where they, you know, especially, you know, college undergrads, they're just trying to figure shit out, right? And, like we all are, but it's like they're trying to figure shit out on a whole new level, and so to give them that place to play and feel really free has been so rewarding, and we played at a couple festivals, and we just kind of meet up and play games and don't judge each other. And it's really a valuable time spent. I mean, but I'm a full believer in the fact that the value of play is real, and the value of play with like-minded people is also very rewarding. I mean, I think that also can be translated to the casts that we all rehearse with, right? And the people that we form these kinds of families with and feel really safe with. And it makes our performing better. It makes our acting better when we have people around us who aren't going to judge us and who we know we are fully, you know, free to fuck up in front of.
Yeah.
And
it's also it's such a crazy different thing having people around you that look like you. I don't know how you guys feel, but a lot of times in theater, I was always the fat one. I was literally the only fat person in a cast. And when all of a sudden I was in sketch and we had a fat girl sketch group, I'm going to plug it, Fatch. It's really fun. And we would have moments where we would cry because we were like, oh my God, we've never been on stage we've never shared a backstage space with all big girls before. Like, it was like we didn't even realize how isolated we were being the only all the time.
It's incredibly affirming. I mean, and how you don't realize how much you're holding back from who you kind of truly are, how you like to joke and how you like to laugh. And it makes a big difference. Josh, I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you.
No. I'm listening and I'm almost in tears, but I haven't cried in 17 years and I'm not starting now.
Why start now?
But with that said, I spent a good amount of time being, you know, just sort of like that kid that was like, so, oh, there's another fat person. There's another fat. My competition. When it's like, no, bitch, your community. Because we are all so fucking different. If they want him, they don't want you. If they want you, they don't want them. Like, we are all night and day. The only similarity, it's like when people are like, oh my gosh, you remind me of Chris Farrell. And it's like, no, I don't. We're just both fat.
Exactly.
But that's okay. You know, I get it.
I'm glad you're okay. I'm not okay.
Yeah, but when I realized that, no, we are not competition. We are community. For a long time, it's like if I was dating somebody that was also of size and in the business, it was like, oh, we can't date. We can hook up, but I'm not going through a lifetime in the business with you.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I have a proposal. Can I make a pitch?
Pitch it, and then we'll probably have to wrap up. Let's go.
You know, so we're making plans to reopen the country, right? You know, we don't know when that's going to happen, but it's on the verge. So I think that we should, just like there's, you know, a 6 foot distance rule, and there's a glove rule, and there's all these kinds of rules. I think we should also make it a mandate that you put at least 3 fat people into every show. It has to happen.
Just as a rule. If we're making rules,
normalize. It's going to start to make us all, you know, recognize that there are different shapes. I think I'm onto something.
I think
that
you
does
are too.
destroy social distance a bit, though. If we're like, we're the belly bumping baby, and we're here to show that we are COVID free. So let's go do Footloose.
You're such an asshole. I hate your guts.
Let's go do Glass Menagerie.
I would be fierce in
Equity
the Glass
has
Menagerie.
decided.
You would be an amazing gentleman caller.
I would actually, well, yeah, I would.
You would. I mean, you're pretty great.
I want
Guys,
to kiss you.
I want to kiss you. Josh and Claire, this is a dream come true for me. Thank you for making dreams come true. Can you let people know how to find you and places? Let's shout it out. How can we support you? Josh, you're everywhere. Tell people where you're going to be next.
Yeah, I'm fucking everywhere, just like God.
You like have a blue check. Like you're like a real asshole.
On Instagram, I'm Josh Lamon, which
say
is lemon with an A.
God.
On social media, I'm just Josh Lamon. Come find me. I've got a website too. I've got a great podcast I'd love you to listen to called Josh Swallows Broadway,
which is so good.
And thanks, friend. And my OnlyFans is I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. I was like, oh, tell me.
No,
about
it's
OnlyFans.
where I rub my nipples and do monologues from Los and Yonkers. I just want to touch.
Oh my God. I'm doing the Sisters Rosenswig next. I'm braless. You're so dumb. Claire, I just found out that you left Twitter. You left me alone on Twitter. But where do you spend most of your time?
It makes me crazy. It's just too overstimulating. You know what though? When you asked me, you were like, "Are you not on Twitter?" I went back and I was like, "Maybe I should get back."
If you do, I'll let everybody know.
Yeah, I totally will. If I do ever tweet again, it'll be at Life is Real Dumb. But I am just Claire.Wilcher on Insta. And if you want to join, if there are any fat theater makers out there, I've got a Facebook group going. We're kind of just starting. It's called the Fat Theater Experience. And it's just a place for us to kind of share shit and talk shit and care about each other. So come join Fat Theater Experience.
Ugh, I love that. I love that. I didn't get to our top 5 fat performances. I might have to ask you for your own personal video and send it to me because I might need extras for our Patreon. Please become a Patreon so this can happen. Josh, you're going to give it to me. You're going to do extra for me, okay?
I'm going to do a lot.
You're going to bend over and do extra. So we're really lucky.
A size 16, so I'll send you a video, okay?
Amazing. So next
I'm wearing
week,
a light shrug in it for most of the show.
I am so lucky that next week I have Deshaun Harrison here. He's a writer. He is the associate editor of where did it go? Wear Your Voice. I was like, I know it's Wear something. Wear Your Voice. They are an incredible Twitter presence. If you can find them on there, you'll have a delight of your life. Really talking about intersexuality. They have a book coming out next year. I'm really excited. But thank you for this Broadway edition of Plus This, and we'll see you next week.